I felt a little bit more crazy. It felt like I was going against receiving love. It felt like I was pushing away from femininity. And because I knew I was hard and I was going through this transition of being very masculine, I didn't understand that me questioning my intuition wasn't about me in that moment. That person was really up to something, but I just didn't know what it was. What is going on? If you're returning, you know I missed you. If you're new, I'm LuminousRah, and today we are going to dive into a very hot topic, okay? But before we dive in, let's go ahead and light some incense and clear the space. Some of you all were never given a chance to date wisely because you were never taught what wisdom and love really looks like. You were raised to survive, not to discern. You were warned not to be too much, but never shown how to be enough for yourself. And when a man switched up after he got you pregnant, you were told it was your fault and that you ignored the signs. But what if the signs were never translated for you in a way that you understood, whether physically or spiritually? What if you were learning as you went, overriding your intuition just to feel loved, chosen, and safe? This video isn't about blame. Now, I can't guarantee that you won't get triggered, but I want you to understand it's about clarity. I want you to have clarity on the energy that you were in, clarity on the unconscious cycles you agreed to, and clarity on how to never attract the same energy in a different body ever again. We're not going to shame the younger version of you because I didn't shame the younger version of me. We're finally listening to her, and we're evolving past survival mode into energetic respect. Let's talk about the version of you who was never taught how to date, only to perform. Let's talk about who you became while loving someone into healing. Let's talk about you, because that's where it all starts. Let's talk about the women that this keeps happening to. They're not always desperate, broken, or boring. They're the ones that sometimes look like they have it all. But that light, it attracts both lovers and leeches. People always have something to say about the pretty girls. Well, let me say this. Pretty doesn't protect you from predators. Wisdom does. Power attracts, but unhealed women often nurture what's draining them because they mistake potential for purpose. If you have a beautiful light about you, or you're pretty, or God, you're both, we're going to have to look at exactly what energy you're in order to dissect how to go about this healing process. Because no matter what you do, you're going to have more people attracted to you, and you're going to have to know how to be able to sift through who's coming at you. But you're not going to do it the hard way. You're not going to do it the long way. You're not going to look for people with certain calibers, certain degrees, certain monetary means, or certain attitudes even. When you balance everything within yourself, that is when you're able to easily sift through who's coming into your existence. So let's go ahead and get into the 5 characteristics of women that often go through certain things and how to bring clarity to these different type of women. Keep in mind, this isn't about shame. This is about recognition. Because until you can name the energy you're living in, you'll keep calling it love when it's actually a lesson. One of my short form videos went viral on Instagram. Didn't even think that was going to happen. It's always the ones that you don't think is going to happen when you go viral. But I was discussing my experience and how my son's father shifted and moving forward into how we were going to go about this situation. And there were so many comments, probably over 300 comments. I still have not been able to get through all of them. But as I went through the process of looking at all of these comments, I saw so many people that could resonate with this message. I would click on every single profile. And even though all these young ladies looked different or had something different going on in their life, they all had some key things in common. And I remember saying to myself, I was like, wow, all of these girls are kind of low-key fly girls, or they have like a bright energy, and I can tell by looking at them in their pictures, I can see this light in their eyes, and it was profound. Because even for me, when I was younger, I couldn't see my light. I knew there was something about me, but I thought I was just energetic. Child, I just chalked it up to ADHD, okay? But now I realize that there's a certain light, and it's that light that people talk about that you can't see yourself, right? So I was like, look at these fly girls. These are fly girls, like know how to dress, know aesthetics, all that good stuff, right? And I thought about me. I thought about how I was when I was younger, when I got pregnant at 21, and I was like, yeah, that was that energy. That's where I was. Kind of naive, very intelligent, but pretty naive as well, because I didn't understand how to date and operate and move through life fully to be able to energetically align with a fuller partner. So why is it that so many fly girls, beautiful, smart, magnetic, end up with the most emotionally unavailable, inconsistent men? You're not crazy. He really did change. And no, it wasn't your glow that faded. It was his mask that fell off. When a man switches up after you get pregnant or after any deepening level of intimacy, it wasn't transformation, it was revelation. He was never ready for what you carried. So first, we are going to tap into the fly girls, the pretty, magnetic, aesthetically tuned in women. These women look like they should have it all, but what they often don't realize is that their light becomes bait, not for love, but for leeching, especially from men who haven't earned or cultivated their own power. These men don't want to protect the light. They want to use it to elevate themselves. They want to be seen with you, not see into you. Now let's talk about you and these women, because looks aside, energy is the true magnet, and there are levels to this energy game. Here lies the 5 energetic stages women are in when they attract unhealed or low value men. So first, we have the wounded rescuer energy. If you love him right, he'll change. This is the inner therapist, overcompensator, or healing siren. You attract men who don't want to evolve unless it's spoon-fed to them. These men need you to stay in a cycle of patchwork and pity. You think you're growing together, but you're just managing their dysfunction. All the ladies in the wounded rescuer energy, your empathy is being harvested. You're cosplaying as wife for a man who sees you as a utility. Now, if you know you're in this energy, baby, you are being called out. But don't worry, I got some fixes for you. The core shift needed is from I can fix him to I must preserve me. Wounded rescuer, you've been trying to prove that you're safe by making others safe. But what if your safety isn't earned through sacrifice? It's chosen through standards. Here's some mini solutions for you, girly, so people can stop playing with you. Build boundaries that don't come with over-explaining. Practice saying no without guilt or performance. Start identifying where your value has been tied to your usefulness. Now in Patreon, we're breaking down how to stop rescuing men emotionally and start rescuing your inner child's need to feel needed. I'll work with you through the top 3 behaviors to detox and journal prompts that will show you exactly who you've been attracting and why. Are we ready for the next energy? Now, girl, I kind of feel like all the ladies probably have a little aspect of all of these energies, but let's get into it. The naive romantic energy. And this comes up with the thoughts of, but we had such a great connection in the beginning. You live for chemistry, fantasy, synchronicities, signs. Girl, I know. I have been there before, okay? You ignore the red flags because it felt so good. You stay because the beginning was so special. I can honestly say some of the things that put me at a disadvantage when dating has helped me in this area as well, because I was incredibly mistrusting to many men and many men in their energy growing up because of what my parents taught me. So this energy, it's one of those things when I hear girls talking or I see certain events transpire, I'm like, I understand. Let's go ahead and get into your blunt truths, okay? You're not in love. You're in a trauma-triggered trance, baby. He mirrored your desires at first, not because he's your soulmate, but because he studies women like you. I have a very short story time before we get into your fixes. There was a time that I met someone at a gathering, and I met him through someone else that I worked with. And as we began to talk and then start to go on dates, he seemed too perfect. He did everything right. It was like he was speaking to every single love language that I could possibly have. And I was like, this dude is just too good to be true. Not only is he emotionally intelligent, making playlists for me, he had the perfect songs for certain conversations that we would have. And oftentimes the conversations will be led by me. So I can say that there's an aspect of me that inspired him into showing the type of love that he fantasized about and he wanted to give to someone. But Man, paying for lunches, I lost my debit card for literally an entire month, and I did not bother looking for it because he took care of everything financially. He was on top of when my nails needed to get redone. He was on top of what color he wanted them done, sending me lunches to work, taking lunch breaks, like going crazy. Bought me flowers every week, knew exactly when they were going to expire. It was insane. Intentional dates, you name it. It was everything. And something in the back of my head, my intuition was like, girl, there is something up with him. And I don't know what it is, because at the end of the day, I don't see any actual obvious signs. It's not like his phone was going off. It wasn't like he wasn't talking to me when he got home. I can call at any time. He would answer. He can call me and everything was fine. And I was like, but my spirit, like I can't see it physically, but my spirit is telling me there's something up. And because of that, I waited a long time before we got intimate, because I was like, what is it? And the second that we got there, bam, that's when it came out. Wow, he has somebody else. Of course he did. But even then, I was like, it's good. It's almost tempting not to walk away. But at the end of the day, I gotta show up for me. And I am not gonna condone that. If he'll do it to her, he'll do it to me. Okay, let's get into your core shifts. You wanna shift from the thought of if it feels right to, is it actually right? Your fantasy of him isn't who he really is. It's who you'd hoped he'd be with enough love. Here are some helpful mini solutions that you can start incorporating today. Start dating without projecting. Notice the patterns, not just the potential. Vet for emotional consistency, not the butterflies. Don't just trust signs, trust discernment. And that's exactly what that story time was about. I was trying to discern, but instead of leaving him alone, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to go through with the process and find out what this is. See, I'm very curious, and that curiosity is the reason why I know so much. And I will say this, being the side chick of that type of guy, he actually taught me a lot. When everything was unveiled and I wanted my answers, he told me the truth. And when he told me exactly how he got away with what he got away with, I was baffled. But it definitely opened my eyes. And of course, the one that he was with reached out to me and I was able to hear her side as well. She almost could not believe, she probably still doesn't believe to this day, that I did not give in to him day 1 or day 2, because she said she gave in to him day 1 or 2. I can't even remember, but it was really quick. He swooned her, swept her off of her feet. So the fact that I waited, I was able to uncover a lot of information, and I was able to also experience the bliss of it all. He was one of the reasons that helped me open my eyes to what I can receive and what somebody is willing to do. And it's cute because years later, the quote came out, if he wanted to, he would, right? So he was the first person to really show me a high caliber of a man wanting to and doing, because your dad, he's your dad and he's gonna love you and set the standard, but it's different when you find someone that is not your father, or not someone that is an uncle or an older relative that's male that loves you and shows you how you should be treated, because they're designed to automatically love you like that. But when you find someone that's not designed and they don't have to show up like that, and you see what can be done and how it can be done, it makes it realistic. It makes a manifestation that much closer and real. So even though he had somebody, hey, I couldn't do nothing about that, okay? After that experience, I did my best not to feel bad. Of course, emotionally, I was crushed. And I told you guys in another video, it usually takes me about a week to get over somebody, right? But I had to choose myself. And I think that was the first time that I chose myself in a situation where I was actually getting treated excellent. It was exceptional service. On Patreon, I will be having a full download on how to unlearn fantasy-based love so that you can stop getting finessed by your imagination. And we're gonna dive deep into how your nervous system wounds confuse chaos with chemistry. If yoga helped me shift my anger, stillness, and speed, imagine what daily energy regulation can do for your love life. I'll show you the exact practices that helped me stop being reactive and start being receptive. Now, one thing that really grinds my gears are the people that are energetically in the same or similar vibration that will get duped by some other situation are always judging and being critical of a lot of women in these categories. And they're always saying something along the lines of, she ignored the signs. But what signs exactly? Who taught her what a real red flag actually looks like when her whole childhood was wrapped in fear, secrecy, and control? Most Black girls were raised on don't get pregnant, not this is how you recognize emotional immaturity. Many of you weren't ignoring the signs. You were drowning in silence. So as far as I'm concerned, you ignored the signs is a lazy response of gaslighting, because most women don't ignore the signs. They simply weren't taught what they are. Like in my previous story, I didn't know exactly what was up, but I knew something was up. And the more I questioned anything about what was up, I felt a little bit more crazy. It felt like I was going against receiving love. It felt like I was pushing away from femininity. And because I knew I was hard and I was going through this transition of being very masculine, I didn't understand that me questioning my intuition wasn't about me in that moment. That person was really up to something, but I just didn't know what it was. So when you have somebody that is in their first time of any type of dating or courtship, it's filled with emotional chaos. And if you add no mentorship to it, you get unrecognizable red flags. And the other key note that I want to put on here, many people ask questions pretending that they want clarity, but they only want to shame you. They want the opportunity to make you look stupid. So if you guys see me cursing people out in the comments, just know I know what's going on, okay? Don't pay attention to that. I hate to say it, but I gotta say it. I gotta be so real on this topic. Black girls were raised for survival, not partnership. When you were told, don't be fast, instead of how to manage sexual and emotional dynamics that already set you up for failure. No one taught you what healthy love actually looks like. They only told you what not to do. Sex was probably demonized, so it wasn't understood. There was no comfort or area where you could discuss these things in a safe space and feel comfortable discussing them. And it shows up in a situation where dating was more of a secret and secretive, more so than being sacred or safe. That miseducation creates emotional landmines in your love life. Inexperience with love isn't just a mental gap, it's also a chemical one, because bonding through sex is real, it's hormonal, it's physiological, and spiritual. So a lot of women that are first-time experiencers of all of these different experiences, they confuse trauma bonding or emotional dependency for love, because no one taught them what love really feels like. I know when you get your heart broken, you want to perform, you want to be better, you want to prove them wrong. Slow down a little bit, okay? You can't outsmart the patterns. You have to evolve into the energy. Dating different types doesn't fix the problem. Energy attracts energy. If your internal world is still unhealed, you'll keep attracting the same lesson in a different disguise, whether that be race, class, career status, all of the above. You can meet a richer man, but he will still have some sort of lack of emotional responsibility. Now we have the perfectionist provider energy. It kind of sounds like I fit in this category. I don't know. Let's see. You may have the mindset of, I did everything right, so why didn't he stay? Or why didn't he act right? Or why can't he just evolve? Or why can't he just do this? You follow the advice of feminine soft life, and it can be a way to your death, okay? Overperforming, nurturing, cooking, praying, wearing silk robes. You think you can earn safety through performance. Ladies in this perfectionist provider energy, you are still playing respectability politics, thinking that good behavior grants you good treatment, and it doesn't. The man already has to value the woman. Period. The core shift needed is to go from, if I do everything right, I'll be chosen or respected or receive a good man, to, I don't have to be chosen or do everything correctly to be valuable. Here's another big honest truth. He's not rejecting you because you didn't do it right. He's rejecting you because you're not his source of power anymore. Here are some mini solutions. Release the performance-based identity. Doing the most won't make him loyal. Rest without guilt. Create a self-worth routine that isn't tied to how others respond. We'll be building a self-worth calendar for next month and a community. Daily micro moves that break the need to prove and show what internal peace looks like without an audience. The next energy is the spiritual ego energy. Thinking that you're healed so you will attract better is a trap within a trap. You post about your peace and use your pain for post, but haven't really changed your standards, boundaries, or self-worth yet. You still crave the old love in a healed body. I gotta be honest, healing is not about manifesting better men. It's about no longer entertaining misaligned ones. You're not being tested, you're just avoiding deeper self-honesty. Now, the core shift that's needed is the mindset of, I'm healed, so I should attract better, to healing is not a certificate, it's a lifestyle. You're not failing your healing journey. You're just being invited to go deeper. Here's some takeaway mini solutions. Do an honesty audit. Where are you still bitter, hopeful, or confused? Stop turning every painful man into a soul lesson, girl. Some of them are just clowns. Update your type to match your values, not your desires. I'll be creating and sharing my Healed Beyond the Surface workbook. This isn't shadow work for content. This is the version that rewired my nervous system and taught me the difference between protecting my peace and performing my growth. Now for our fifth energy, embodied queen energy. I'm not waiting on anybody to choose me because I've chosen myself. You don't confuse attraction for alignment. You vet in silence. You're not shocked when a man flakes or misbehaves because you never censored him in the first place. You meet men from your overflow, not your survival. When you get here, you become unreachable to the men that only approach light to leech. These men will probably call you intimidating, hard to impress, or doing too much. That's how you know that 9 times out of 10, you're finally in the right place. Even this energy has some core shifts. So we want to go from I'm unavailable to dysfunction, because guess what? Nobody is perfect. So sometimes what we may rule as dysfunction is just nature of human beings. To I also deserve softness, pleasure, and support without guilt. Just because you're strong now doesn't mean you have to do it all alone. Some of our mini solutions for this one is practice receiving. Let go of hyper-independence as a badge. Develop some more feminine boundaries. Soft on the outside, firm at the core. On Patreon, in our Queen Energy Circle, where we're writing our pleasure, beliefs, and building a nervous system that can actually handle being adored. Yes, that's a skill. We've been trained to reject ease and call it boring and sometimes uncomfortable or lame. Now that we've identified those energies, let's go ahead and get into why these people switch up and change. Here's the part that nobody talks about. Pregnancy shifts the roles. You become the mirror for legacy, accountability, and consequence. Men who never plan to grow panic when they realize they created something they can't control. Some things to keep in mind. He didn't change, he revealed. And what he revealed was never really about you. It's about what responsibility exposes and the immature masculine. And I just want to say, any man trying to tell you that you should pick better is also in that energy as well. He's just on the other side of the same coin. Honestly, the type of person that I was raised to be, I had to come to terms with it being a blessing and a gift of my personality and not necessarily a curse, because I felt like everybody was always taking advantage. Everybody was always mistreating me. I was so cool, vibrant, chill, loving, giving, nurturing, and I felt like other people should have some sort of gauge on how much to take, because I wouldn't take too much from other people. I would be able to limit myself to make sure that I'm not using people. And all while growing up, I did not get to experience a time where people did the same for me. So now that we have these words that we use all the time, like narcissist or this or that, growing up, that wasn't the case. I didn't have previous knowledge. And a lot of times there's a lot of therapists coming out saying, you may think that your partner is narcissistic and they may have narcissistic tendencies, but they may not actually be narcissistic. And in that moment, that's when I realized that I have to get clear with me, because the more I showed up in independent or strong energy to take care of things and handle things and be able to shift and pivot and figure things out and come up with the answers, while also having that mindset of, I need to be understanding. I need to be comforting. I need to be nurturing, because you always hear people say, oh, you don't want to beat a man down mentally, emotionally, energetically. But sometimes, no matter what you do, especially if you show up and show out, it will trigger a lot of darkness in them and they will spaz on you. And this is the main reason why Shira 7 is always preaching, do not date a man that is not where he wants to be. She always says money, because a lot of men value money. But really, a man that's incomplete, you're taking a gamble if you deal with him and try to show up for him in a way where he's already shown you that he's snappy. He's already shown you in certain type of ways, or maybe you've seen that he doesn't handle stress well. Sometimes trying to go with the flow and be agreeable will keep you from seeing the truth of a person's real persona and personality. And boy, do I know that energy far too well. So now, instead of being agreeable, I show up as I am. I know what I want. I know how I want it, because I've already given it to myself. And if you're not able to meet me there, then I'm not available. Something to also keep in mind. I've experienced people that I never dated when they were in my energy. Now that I'm in an energy of knowing self and not lowering myself to make anybody else feel comfortable in my energy, I can see very clearly what it looks like when a man is on his tippy toes trying to reach your level, when he's trying to perform, when he's trying to sway you, trick you, convince you that he's a good guy, convince you that he's better than the last, and all of these different rhetorics and games that men play, and they don't even feel like it's games. It's an automatic trigger. Let me fluff. Let me show up in performative energy because I really got to have this girl. And it's not ever about you. He's never thinking about you. He's never thinking, okay, if I'm putting on this front to get the girl, I'm going to have to uphold this front to keep the girl, because she's not going to want anything to do with me if I slack. But because they can read that there's some sort of lack of self-love, and a lack of self-love is the indication when you actually give that person a chance. You don't even know it, but when you give that person a chance and you engage, that is the first clue to them. Oh, she actually likes me. So if I can really reel her in emotionally, then she'll be okay with me falling back into who I really am. And that is a trick. And to them, it may not seem like a trick. You know, I'm able to see things from both sides. They just want what they want, but you don't get what you want if you don't put in the work to become the thing that you're pretending to be. So girly, when you are in that healer energy, sometimes, most times, it's a trap, because you don't have the knowledge that you need to be able to protect yourself or navigate that energy to know who to heal, how to heal, and when to stop. Sometimes just being in my energy, being in my world, if I invite you into my world for the day or for an hour or 15 minutes, that within itself is healing energy, because I know how I present when I'm around people, because I am exactly who I say I am. Whoever I am in the house, that's who I am outside. So baby, if you are fixing to piss me off outside and I don't know you, you may just get cursed out, honey. It all depends on the energy that I feel is necessary in that moment, right? But for the most part, I'm incredibly sweet, I'm understanding, but I have this air of, this is my world. When I step into the room, you are now a part of my world and my movie. And it's not an arrogant thing, it's an awareness thing. So nobody else is able to rope me in to pouring all of my energy into healing them. I'm still trying to figure me out. But as I figure me out, I'm only figuring me out because I'm continuing on my path and my purpose. The simple fact that I sit here and I have these conversations with you guys, that is another version of me discovering me. And I'm more intrigued in that than I am trying to please or make other people feel comfortable, because that's literally not something that I care about anymore. I don't care what type of name somebody calls me, because I had to work to get here. And when you work hard to heal, that's when you know nobody can play with you, because you actually went through the roughness of all of the storms, of the understanding, of the crying, of the releasing, of the hard moments of sitting and looking at yourself. You go through that. And once you get to a certain moment or a certain core of any type of healing or traumatic event, you're never going to be able to turn back and say, oh, I guess I'll let this person in. That's exactly how you know you got more unearthing to do. So remember, baby, some of us aren't with broken men. We're with the reflections of our wounded self-worth. Healing is not supposed to keep you in pain. It's supposed to help you opt out of it. And wherever you are, you got to realize that you're at the starting point of every reality. Life manifests through you. Even if you can't see your vibration, your reality is still reflecting it. What triggers you? What compliments do you deny? What discomfort do you feel? All of those things are mirrors. Now, this is really important to listen to and take in, and even journal if you need to, because you discover your beliefs through triggers and self-talks. You can't just journal affirmations, okay? You have to integrate your reflexes. How you react to good things reveals your hidden programming. Discomfort is actually a diagnostic. Now, it's great that you're on this healing journey. It's great that you're doing the work. It's great that you are achieving and you see your growth and you see your power, and it's beautiful to experience. But awareness without application isn't growth. You have to go out and live. And I don't mean live in perfection. I mean live without regret. It's your life. What's the plot and the twist? When I share these story times with you guys, they're not necessarily cautionary tales. I'm sharing moments where I was fully living in this experience. And that's why I'm able to tell the story. That's why it's not hard for me to overcome these situations, even if they turn out to be unfavorable. Because I enjoyed myself when I enjoyed myself. When the going was good, it was good, baby. So keep that in mind, right? Be around people. If the space you know you want to be in makes you feel inferior or uneasy, then that is the work. You don't avoid it. You don't wait until you're right or perfect. You go and experience it. Pay attention to who you feel safe around versus who you adjust around. Are the people that you feel safe around keeping you in the same old version of yourself? Or are you able to be around people that you're probably intimidated by, but where you know your soul wants you to be, or where you dream to be, or where you're just curious about being? Why don't you just go ahead and see what it is? A lot of times when we get depressed or we're in these moments that we feel stagnant, it's because there's so much that our soul and our mind and our body wants to do, and we hold ourselves back from doing it. It's not the right time. We don't have enough money. Look at the condition of the world. So what? Live your life. Do it safely, but live your life, baby. Now, I know we're discussing energetic shifts, but energetic shifts aren't about choosing the right partner. They're about choosing the right you. You're not avoiding misaligned partners. You're simply becoming incompatible with them. And you have to keep in mind that if you do have a partner and you are in partnership, fixing you doesn't mean you're fixing your partner. That's not your job. And don't stress about what you're going to do with them when you start to evolve, okay? Because if they don't grow with you, then they'll naturally fall away. You're probably thinking, Ra, what do you mean they'll naturally fall away? I got you. Don't worry. The divine removes what's no longer aligned. You're not forcing breakups. You're just going to flow with whatever can no longer survive your elevation. When you heal your own frequency, the universe handles the people. That's all you need to know. That's all I'm going to tell you. But trust me, I've been there already. And it's not just romantic partnerships. It's family, it's friends, and it happens in the most auspicious ways. So just trust the divine, have that connection, keep yourself clear, trust yourself, and everything will work together. You do the healing, you do the evolving, you do the walking, and the divine will piece everything else together for you. Now, I am specifically calling out my people pleasers. Stop playing roles that attract what you don't want. If you don't want a project, stop being a fixer. Posting cute memes on the internet saying something along the lines of, I don't want a man that I have to fix. I don't want to fix her up, or I'm not Barbara the Builder. Whatever, girl. You just posting that, but that has nothing to do with what you're doing and your actions. If you want a healed partner, stop identifying as the healer. Energy does not lie. It reciprocates. You ain't fooling nobody but yourself. So for the ladies that think they can change your wardrobe, income, or type, and they won't repeat the same cycles, girl, you will absolutely repeat the same cycles because you're not getting down to the root core of what's actually happening. Changing those things is just surface. You can act all you want to, but when you hit the core, that's when your energy shifts, and energy does not lie. I know there's a lot of ladies out there that think that if they stop dating broke men, that you'll stop getting disrespected. But to your surprise, and I'm not telling you to avoid it, go live. You'll find out. A man with money and some Gucci flip-flops will come and be very disrespectful. You have to know how to hold your own. You have to know how to show up in this world. You have to know how to command respect while also being in your feminine energy. Okay? It's very important because they will have the same energy, just a new outfit. So you have to realize that you're not changing your life by changing your outfit. You're just changing your distractions. And this is where your shift begins. And not the kind that happens in silence or prayer alone, but the type that unfolds in real life once you live it. And you have to remember that you are the center. You're the origin point. Not your man, not your mom, not your dad, not even your past you. Your vibration is not something that you can see. It's something that you can trace based on what life is sending you. That means that you're healing abstract. It's practical. What you should be looking at is, what compliments do you reject? What situations trigger you? Who do you adjust yourself for? If you keep attracting projects, you're still playing the fixer. Somehow, some way, don't argue with me. You can't be the medicine and expect a healed man. You'll keep getting patients, not partners. I myself even had to have my own epiphanies. I had to sit with the fact that I didn't need to decide whether I was with the right partner or whether he was the one. I just needed to decide whether I was aligned with what I said I wanted. And from there, spirit handles the rest and does all the sorting. That is divine delegation. So the question becomes, are you willing to shift, even if that means some people don't come with you? In Patreon, I will post my brief rewriting workbook, the vibration audit, and prompts to help you decode what your energy is actually saying out loud before you even speak a word. That's how I shift my standard, not just my appearance. Something that I strongly believe in is taking accountability for your own actions and your own energy. So you have to think. You can't call it accountability you haven't already mastered yourself. If you want a responsible man, be responsible with your own energy. Want a healed man? Stop being the wounded woman with polished edges. And a reminder that surface level success isn't emotional readiness. So getting the job, the car, your hair done, your body done, none of it equals inner peace. If your emotions are unpracticed, love will collapse the illusion. Many women believe that they're strong because they fight back, but sometimes that's still a trigger. Clapping back all the time isn't always clarity. Arguing isn't always healed energy. Now it can help you discover versions of yourself that need to be healed, or versions and aspects of you that need to be looked at, but it's still an area of opportunity to evolve. True strength is self-mastery and energetic stability, not going back and forth. And personally for me, because baby, I am a fiery spirit, okay? Yoga helped me because it taught me emotional regulation through the body. Yoga was my gateway because it trains discomfort tolerance and breath awareness. Healing for me wasn't something that I can just talk through. It was embodied rewiring, which also helped me learn my physical body along with my energetic and spiritual body. Now, I know a lot of you are probably in a state where you don't want to date anymore. The problem isn't dating, it's the avoidance of reflection. Now, I'm not telling you to go out there and find a boyfriend. I'm not telling you to go out there and find a date. I'm just saying, when you're out there and you're vibrant and your light is glowing and showing, you need certain situations to help you navigate how you show up. Most people date for outcome, like a relationship, not the revelation. Who you are while you date. That is the reason why that one dating experience that I shared with you guys was so profound, because I loved the woman that I was while I was engaging with this individual. There were certain instances where I was able to tap into a softer version of me. So you have to be clear about things, because a lot of us, we mask confusion with brunch, travel, fun, and a plethora of distractions. When the fun ends, the trauma returns because the wound never healed. You just dragged it all over the vacation with you. You don't become the woman that attracts differently overnight, but you can start with your next decisions. Everything I said today has stirred something within you. Just know that it should, because you probably outgrown what you've been calling love. On my Patreon, I built a space for women who are ready to walk the path, not just post about it. I'll guide you through real prompt, energy rewriting exercises, belief detoxes, and share my personal healing rituals. And if you think that healing is walking away from toxic people, you literally just missed the whole point. Healing is about removing the pieces of you that allowed chaos to feel like home. But anytime a trigger arises, just know a trigger is a wound looking for a witness. If you haven't removed or cleared the wound, it will bleed onto people who never cut you. You're not just reacting to people, you're reacting to your unhealed perception of life. You can't out-affirm a poisonous mindset. You can't out-journal an unexamined trauma loop. Healing isn't about stacking rituals. It's about removing the residue first. Let's picture a cup of water. If it's poisoned, adding fruit, vitamins, and herbs won't fix it. You have to dump out the poison first. That's what inner excavation is. The hardest part about healing is the healing. But after that, everything just falls into place. When you've done that work, energetic discernment becomes second nature. You feel people's residue before they even speak. And you don't necessarily need to call it out. You simply don't merge with it. Clearing your field isn't about protecting your peace. It's about sharpening your perception. And yes, once you clear everything, you can feel someone's essence through their voice, text, memories, even social media. This is not magic. It's what happens when your channel is clear. Sometimes you're so much in the flow, in a cycle of healed version of self, that you're moving through life oblivious of all of the pettiness and the nonsense that's going on around you. It literally does not hit or affect you. That is when you know you are thriving. After this video and after you do the work, you might go back and have to revisit some of the things that's been transpiring recently. Because once you realize that at some point, triggers hurt innocent people when left untouched. If you don't excavate your inner world, you'll continue to harm people, even if it's unintentionally. Even with tools or tips, when the time presents itself, you'll still act out in pain if it's unresolved. A person with poison inside can't serve health, no matter how pretty the presentation is. I know a lot of people are just taking on this healthy mindset and trying to start today and be proactive, but you can't add wellness on top of chaos. You have to remove whatever you have going on inside of you and not try to decorate the dysfunction. And when you go through self-healing, it ends survival mode. Once you've looked in and you do the deep work, you don't feel the need to want to control other people anymore. You become safe with yourself, which means you stop needing constant emotional defense systems. I also want to touch on the fact that people-pleasing is a trauma loop, not a personality trait. You're exhausted because you keep trying to understand everybody else's emotions and not your own. And healing doesn't mean always going into hermit mode. It means understanding your own patterns enough to move through the world with discernment. And the last but not least thing, the nervous system must be practiced, not just studied. Many people sense something but can't interpret it because they haven't practiced decoding energetic patterns. You learn by living, observing people, sensing changes, and allowing curiosity. And sometimes we get triggered by people's actions and not necessarily by trauma. And in these moments, understanding is your best friend. Recalibrating your brain process and what you believe is your best friend. Because manipulation isn't always malicious. It can also be a survival skill. When you grow up in dysfunction, you may learn manipulation as a coping strategy. Now, let's say you're dealing with someone else that has learned this. Understanding that will help you reduce your anger. But if you manipulate it, then it's really easy to spot. So if you know you used to manipulate, you can't be so harsh and quick to judge other manipulators because their intent or their reason as to why they're manipulating may not be the same as yours. When you stop manipulating and start protecting your triggers, you return to peace and proper responsiveness. Now keep in mind, every time I talk about something, I'm also talking about giving it to yourself as well. If you don't like liars, you can't continue to lie to yourself. If you don't like manipulators, you can't be manipulating yourself. If you don't like the rug pulled from underneath you, you can't pull the rug from underneath yourself. And trust me, people are very creative in doing those things. When it comes to love, You have to properly love yourself before you love other people. If you don't prepare for love with standards, you're preparing to abandon yourself in somebody else's story. So in this essence of trying to create these boundaries, you have to go back and think about what happened and why you even have the belief systems that you have now that are presenting the energy and reflections that you're getting in the world. And one of them may have been, you were told not to ask for too much. That's why you keep getting crumbs. You were probably told not to seem like a gold digger. That's why you have to keep digging yourself out of emotional debt. You were probably told not to be mean or to smile. That's why you're probably mistaking tolerance for peace. What if everything you were told to tone down was actually what would have saved you? So I want you to remember, when they say you should have chosen better, they're right, but not for the reasons that you think. You just had to do a little bit of healing, baby. But the same men that say that are the ones that will be mad when you actually do, because now they will never be able to touch you. And the women that say that are very dismissive to what women go through. So keep that in mind when you hear your friends say certain things. But you also have to be aware of whether you're not doing what you need to do in order to better your situation and better your life. When these men realize that you're choosing better, they're going to call it attitude, but it's just boundaries. And this is all going to take place possibly in the beginning stages of your healing. Once you are fully healed, you more than likely won't even be around these type of men unless you decide to do content like me and post it on social media where you don't have any control where the algorithm puts your stuff. And I just want to let you know that just because everybody is doing all of this fancy stuff or it looks like whatever they're doing is working for them, just keep this in mind. Real healing doesn't look like anything, but it does feel like freedom. You don't have to prove that you're healing by ignoring or clapping back. You just simply become unavailable to nonsense. So when it comes to when you get out there and you start preparing for dating, just remember that you want to prepare for success. And I'm not talking about a baller or a man that rubs your feet or does everything that you want him to do. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is everything that goes into your core. So no boundaries equals no protection. If you date aimlessly, you run the risk of experiencing manipulation. Not having standards isn't cute, and it doesn't make you likable. It can be dangerous. And let me tell you something. People pleasing will have you picking from the bottom of the barrel. If you're thinking about not looking mean or not wanting to look high maintenance, I still hear women say this. Please stop, because that will equal you being chosen by men who want unguarded access, not love or a respectable partnership. The same ones that are saying you should have chosen better are the ones that will definitely be mad they can no longer access you when you shift your mindset. I'm going to keep saying that. When you're out dating, the pick-me energy and the finesser are one and the same. Unhealed women getting revenge attract unhealed men playing the same game. A man with money isn't healed if he's emotionally bankrupt. You're not outsmarting anyone by operating in that energy. And remember that true self-love is not performed, it's embodied. Boundaries aren't to protect you from men. They're to honor your own frequency. When your vibration changes, men will sense it. Low-effort men prefer easy wins because they want to feel like they've achieved something without actually rising. If you think about the runners, when they jump over the hurdles, they want to jump over the small hurdles, the hurdles that babies can jump over, and they want a big parade and praise for that low-effort energy because they want to convince themselves that they're good men, that they're strong men, that they can achieve anything, but they don't want to actually put themselves up against a real challenge. And that is the thing that you need to start looking for. And I'm not saying being an asshole is a challenge because some people take it way too far. What I'm saying is once you go through your healing process and you understand where you need to lay your boundaries and you understand what self-love looks like and you understand when to say no to things, that is when it becomes a challenge. It challenges the person to show up in their best energy or to move on because they know that you won't lower yours. Healthy masculine energy wants to rise to the occasion. He doesn't feel good showing up poorly. He wants to be proud of who he is, not what he can finesse. Real men aren't intimidated by challenges. They're drawn to the evolution that it creates. Performative healing is a costume. You can't fake growth. So if you want to express yourself in different ways, for instance, twerking isn't necessarily the issue. The intent is. If it's done for the male gaze, competition or validation, it's not liberation, it's performance. You're not healed if your healing only works when someone else is watching. You become the version of you that's no longer accessible to men who benefit from your confusion. So remember, ladies, just because you're desirable doesn't mean that you're discerning, and it doesn't mean that you're going to get the best pick of the litter. And healing isn't about fixing him. It's about retiring the role of the woman who keeps attracting men she has to fix. I enjoyed this chat with you all, and I can't wait to see you again. Hopefully everything that I shared with you was profound and helped you get that much closer to your healing journey. That's my time. I'll see you guys later. Peace, love, and a little bit of spice.